Hi, it's Kate from Sleep Time Baby. Hope you're well. It's Friday, and that means it's the last day, in theory, of the 5-day sleep challenge. So all through the week, we've been going through all the topics that I've been covering. So whether that's kind of been sleep education, props, sleep cycles, daytime, nighttime, their environment, routines, trying to give you a picture of how to get your child to settle better and sleep for longer. So today, the idea is just trying to catch up things that I may not have covered. So I've been asking around and people have given me lots of ideas about topics that we want to kind of go over, I suppose, or introduce. So the problem is that there's a bit too many topics to cover all in one day, and I don't want to overload things. So what I've decided to do is pick on a few topics today that I will talk about, and then I'm going to put up a Q&A. So basically what we'll do is we'll have Q&A next week, so you can ask me any questions about your child's sleep and I will kind of answer them, but it'll happen next week. And the reason why is I thought, well, let me give you the information, let's give it a go over the weekend, see how things go, and then what you can then do is ask me when things aren't going so well. That's the kind of the hope and the idea behind it all. So really what I wanted to talk about today was a few more, I suppose, fundamental topics and things to kind of add into stuff that we've been saying already this week. So the first one, and one of the most popular ones that I got in terms of request, was about early rising. So this is always a bit of a problem, and it gets more of a problem as the nights get longer and the sun rises earlier. So early rising can be caused by a couple of things. So mainly it's to do with, it can be do with a few things basically. You want to make sure that your child is self-settling if possible, because that early part of the morning is when they're in much lighter sleep, so they're much easier to wake and therefore harder to kind of settle potentially when they go down. So try and encourage your child to self-settle. The next thing to do is to look at how much they're napping in the day, if they're still napping, because that can play a component part of when they're waking up. Overtiredness can cause early rising. Undertiredness can cause early rising as well. So you want to kind of know that your child is in the right zone. And we talked about that zone in the daytime video. So have a watch back of that one if you're kind of unsure. I did post my kind of recommendations so that you kind of saw which ones, what the recommended amount of sleep for your child in the day is on average. So with an early rising situation, what you want to do is make sure that you've got your child in the right place for sleep. Make sure that the darkness is definitely happening. Even if you've got a little bit of light bleed that can happen when the sun starts to kind of rise, then that can really cause them to wake up. So black out all your windows, the travel blackout blind, the grey blind that I kind of mentioned, get some more permanent fixtures, tape down the windows, whatever it is, because that one creep of light might cause your child to wake. Make sure that they're not too cold. Sometimes around 4 o'clock is the coldest part of the night, and it's not great weather at the moment, so it is potentially still a bit chilly in the night time. So be kind of conscious of that. Make sure you're kind of thinking about whether it could be a hunger thing. If you feel that your child doesn't need the kind of nutrition in the night time, then what you might want to do is feed them up before bed, like a sort of a suppery snack type thing. Bananas, porridge, carbohydrate kind of base food, no sugar obviously. Just want to avoid that. Almonds, great kind of sleepy snack before bed, so think about that. And then from an early rising point of view, my advice is always to try and avoid overtiredness first. So the first thing to do would be to put them to bed half an hour earlier. Try that for 5 days, see if that helps, and then put them to bed half an hour later, so half an hour later than their normal bedtime. See if that helps. And then if they're still rising after about 5 or 6 days of trying both of those things, then I would see about maybe doing like a wake to sleep method. So that might be kind of going in, if they're waking at 5 every morning, going in at 10 to 5, rousing them gently into a state of consciousness, and then getting them to go back into sleep with your kind of help. That can be a bit dangerous because they can actually wake, but doing something like that as a kind of a process can really help. But mainly it's down to overtiredness, I find, with early rising. So have a think about that. Now, the next topic to talk about is sleep regressions and what they mean. So a sleep regression, people get a bit obsessed by things like the Wonder Weeks app, and I think those are great for a kind of an education point of view, but I don't want you to become too obsessed by it. It's a bit like the whole issue to being obsessed by naps. Try and take it as your child, your journey. That's the whole thing I kind of talk about. So regressions may well happen, but you don't want them to kind of last forever. That's the kind of the important part. So bear that in mind when you're kind of going into one. So the classic ones are the 4-month sleep regression, which is all about their sleep pattern changing, and will possibly affect their sleep. Then you get into the 8 sort of monthish one, which is normally around that kind of they call it sort of separation anxiety. It's all about their kind of knowledge of the world. Then you can get one at 12 months, 18 months. A lot of those are developmental. So what you want to be doing really is recognizing that your child might be struggling a little bit with the regression, because they can be kind of real, but you want to maybe compensate slightly, but not let it last forever. So if you've got good sleep habits going into regression, maybe you want to kind of give a bit more comfort, and then when the regression is finished, or when you think it should be finished, i.e. a couple of weeks down the line max, I would say, then go back to the sleep habits that you know and sort of stick with kind of your gut feeling in all of it. Now if you've got bad sleep habits going into a regression, you often don't come out better. At the end you might come out worse, just kind of as a word of warning, I suppose. So if you feel like that, then perhaps then is the time to start really addressing the issue so you don't suffer the next time. And obviously that's something I can potentially help with if you're looking for kind of advice on that. With things like separation anxiety, you can do other things like spending more time with the child one-on-one before bed, so that they're kind of not feeling quite so isolated. And then maybe with things like developmental changes like walking or rolling, then you can do practice in the day. So, rolling practice using a towel, something like that. Or if you've got, the walking practice, you can just wander around with them. That's the sort of thing. So bear that in mind if you've got kind of something that you think might be happening. Now, from an illness or a teething point of view, then often illnesses and teething can cause sleep disruption. It's a kind of a well-known sort of fact, but again, what you want to do is kind of recognize what's happening. So I always sort of say, when your child is ill, they need more comfort. I'm not saying ignore them. It's really important that your child gets the right level of attention and the right level of comfort from you when they're ill, when they're teething. It's just to make sure that you know what your kind of boundaries are, I suppose. So I often say try and focus on bedtime being the best you can, because often you know how they've been in the day and you can help them with medication if need be. But go for bedtime as normal, and then when they wake up in the night, perhaps they're waking up more, then at that point I would probably maybe offer a bit more comfort until the tooth has come through or the child is feeling better, and then you want to stick to kind of your habits again. So don't let illnesses become the thing that makes your sleep bad. So it's often the case that you'll find that people get in touch after a really bad bout of illness and they're just struggling to get back on track. So try and know what your track is, your journey, like I keep saying, and kind of work back to that kind of thing. So illnesses, again, you want to make sure that you're looking after your child, but not letting them cause you having bad kind of sleep. Now, the next topic is all about transitioning from cot to, from maybe a Moses basket or next to me to a cot, and then also from a cot to a bed. So advice on this is always to kind of, with if their child is in the room with you and you're moving them to their own room, the advice is to kind of spend as much time in there as possible in their new space. Maybe do naps in the kind of the cot. If you've got Moses basket or something that will fit into the new cot, do that, transition them that way. Or if you've got a next to me on wheels, wheel it in, something along those lines, so they spend some time sleeping in there in an environment that they know. And then just go for it and just make it happen in the best way possible. So offer them the comfort if they need it, but know that that's going to be their new space. And often you'll find that they get used to it quite quickly, and it's about you being ready to let go. Obviously guidelines, follow them, 6 months, all the safe sleep space advice that you can get from the Lullaby Trust, because of course, actually, I forgot to say, it's World Sleep Day today, which is very exciting from a sleep consultant's point of view. I've been kind of catching up on what people are doing, but Lullaby Trust had their Safer Sleep Week this week in conjunction with World Sleep Day, so lots of information out there for you. Now, the next topic is all about holidays and what to do when you're going on holiday. So I've got loads of stuff on this in terms of in my plans and everything when I talk to people about it, but with holidays, I'm kind of a bit like, you need to kind of go with it, right? So if you're getting on a plane, just go with it. If you're changing time zones, change the time zone as you get on the plane. Travel with your child, just make the sleep happen if they're napping, and then, get off the plane. The key to kind of changing time zones is lots of kind of fresh air, lots of kind of daylight to get the body into slightly different rhythm. So don't go and hide away in your hotel room or your kind of your place where you're staying. Get out and do some stuff around so you can get into the rhythm of things. You might need to change things a little bit, but really it takes a couple of days to kind of get on track. But my advice around traveling is just to crack on with it basically and not worry too much about it. Just get to your destination, feed them loads of snacks on the way, make it happen and enjoy the holiday. I always used to say that our children always disrupted on night one, and they still are when we go away. They can get a bit kind of like unfamiliar, especially my son. He finds it a bit difficult to kind of settle in a new space, but after night one they're fine. So sometimes I'd say maybe, you know, kind of just overcompensate on the first night, but then get back to kind of what you know. It's all about your confidence in your child's sleep and what they're able to sort of do. So that's all about kind of holidays. And the next one that I was kind of asked about was the clock change. Now, I think what I'm going to do with that as a bigger topic is to do a more focused video next week. So I don't want to put it on here and it kind of get lost. But needless to say, don't worry about the clock change yet. It's happening on the 31st of March. So that's a while away yet. I think it is the 31st of March, which is also Mother's Day and also my birthday. So lots going on that day. But the clock change, don't worry about it until you get to that day. And I'll be posting my advice on that very, very soon. But keep it kind of under wraps for now. So that's kind of the advice that I wanted to kind of go through today. And like I say, what I would really love to do is get your questions and answer them next week. So I want to make sure that you've had a chance to listen to the information and then kind of think about how it might apply to you. So I'll be putting up kind of the Q&A options on the groups and on Instagram so you can see it all. And then the last thing to mention before I go is that there is a prize for today, and it's related to the kind of the teething instance. So I've basically got loads of different baby kind of teething kind of things that from Bush Baby, which is awesome because actually dental health for children, we talk about it from not necessarily from a baby point of view, and actually what they do is they kind of supply some great stuff which will help with cleaning the gums to therefore help with teething and making sure that the child has good dental health and good dental health habits, which I think is also really important. So I'll post about that later because I think it's going to take a bit more explanation. But that's it for today, which means that's it for this week, which is kind of very exciting. I've loved being on this kind of journey, this 5-day journey with you, and I really hope that it's helped you improve your children's sleep. And I look forward to kind of answering questions on it next week and hopefully coming to you with some exciting news about how you can work with me more in a kind of a way next week, but I will hold off on news for that for now. But for now, I'm going to go and probably avoid the rain. It's looking a bit miserable out there before I have to go and pick up the kids. But have a lovely afternoon. Thank you for joining me, and I will speak to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.